Howdy folks, Matt here with Gulf Coast Fit, and today I would like to share with you one of my go-to types of shoulder maintenance routines. By maintenance routine, I mean that this workout is not really a strenuous workout, but it's designed to keep my shoulder complex, my scapulas, and my glenohumeral joint, my shoulder joint, operating optimally. I get beat up a lot with all the fun that I have training people, training clients, training myself, and then doing all the fun stuff day-to-day life, like paddling, getting out on the water, swimming, biking, playing pickleball recently. Anyway, shoulder joints are one of the most used and abused, if not the most used and abused joint in an active person's body. And it's very important to back up your playtime, your competitions, or just your training with, you could call it active recovery, or I like to call it a maintenance routine. This is not designed to set me back any further. It's designed to help me improve my joint range of motion, my muscle flexibility, and basically to reinforce good movement patterns and keep the repertoire of movement patterns that I would like to possess at an all-time high, or at a consistent high. Remember, if you don't use it, you lose it. That applies towards range of motion and movement in general. I'm going to be using my bands for this. Got a red band, kind of a lighter resistance, black, kind of a medium light, and then a heavier resistance with the purple band. I'm going to run through three types of movements, or three types of exercises throughout this maintenance routine. The three focal points will be a pulling exercise for the upper posterior via some type of band pull. I've done band pull videos, all types of opening up of the chest, activating your upper posterior, rear delts, traps, rhomboids, external rotators, even your lats. After a band pull variation, which focuses a lot on good posture and opening up, then I'll focus on a pushing variation. Excuse me. Focus on a pushing variation, be it vertical pressing or horizontal pressing. So we'll complement the band pull with a push of some sort. And then the third component of the trifecta will be for mobility and flexibility via a shoulder dislocate variation of some sort. And to kind of regulate and keep this type of a maintenance routine going based on performance, based on how I feel. And I try to complement each round, each exercise with something that helps fill in the gaps, keeps me moving forward in a timely manner, and touches base on what I feel I need to touch base on for that day. So I've been doing a lot of paddling in the past few days. It was just 4th of July weekend, so I was outside playing a lot. Shoulders are not super taxed, but I also got a heavy lifting session in with my boy Caleb, my paddling partner. Shout out Caleb. And so what we're gonna do today is gonna complement all the fun I've been having and just try to keep me in the game. And you know, that's the point of training, is to keep your joints and your body operating optimally at all times, hopefully. So starting with a band pull variation, I'll do a lot of these seated. You know, if I'm focusing on upper body, taking the lower extremities out of the equation by doing things in a seated position can help be a little bit more direct and to the point of what you're trying to accomplish, what your intentions are. And in today's case, it will also help avoid chopping my head off. I've got you in landscape mode. You're currently propped up on a milk jug and my agenda and a piece of tree bark. A little congested today. So first band pull variation we'll keep it simple to start. The reps will vary from exercise to exercise. The reps may vary from person to person executing something like this. You don't have to use the same bands I'm using, but you might, and you also don't have to do the same repetitions I'm doing, but I'll try to give you some advice on what level of intensity and what rep range you should shoot for in each of these variations. So like I said, let's start simple. I'm going to do a seated overhand or pronated band pull. fairly heavy, doubling up the black band. Do want my back to do some good hard work, but we're not taking anything to failure by any means. And inhale as I open up, exhale as I close. Making sure I initiate by spreading with the posterior delts, finish by retracting with the scapulas. That's when I pull the band into my chest for added resistance. I would suggest keeping the reps here if you're going medium heavy like I am. This is a pretty strong band pull variation, pretty simple and strong. About 10 to 15 reps. I think that's about 15. Between exercises, and I'm also structuring this with a pull, a push, then a mobility flexibility exercise so I can just keep chipping away at it. Try to limit your transition or recovery period to about 3 to 5 breaths, which for me would be 15 to 30 seconds. So without further ado, I'm gonna go into my first pressing exercise. You know what, I'll use the same band, this black band. I'm gonna do a kneeling Y press. So the band's under my knees, hook it through my thumbs. I'm gonna press up and out. I really like Y presses because as you press up and out, the band tension increases both vertically and horizontally. So everything from your anterior deltoids, medial delts, posterior delts, and then your scapular elevators and abductors are all being challenged in two different directions with two different resistances. Really great for shoulder stability, pushing my head right through the band. For me, this is a bit more challenging than the band pulls, so I might keep this anywhere from 8 to 12 reps. Ooh, that's probably 8 to 12. I'm gonna go ahead and give you 3 long breaths. Now I'm going to go into my band dislocate variation. Now we're doing band dislocates for joint mobility and muscle flexibility. Kind of helps stretch and lengthen out after doing the pulling and pushing exercises. So it helps you reset for the next round. It's also a good opportunity to dial in and sync up your recovery breaths. Inhale on the way up, exhale on the way down. Make sure we're mobilizing the scapulas as much as possible. The more we mobilize the scapulas, the more you'll get out of this. So we think about depressing the shoulder blades, retracting, elevating, protracting, and depressing. I'm gonna get 5 to 8 reps of each shoulder dislocate. So I'm not doing as many reps because each rep takes a little bit longer. Also, I don't want to rest too long between exercises. You can think of that shoulder dislocate as kind of an active recovery from the pull-push superset. Next pulling variation I'm going to go to, I'm going to do a pull down, kind of like a lat pull down or a wide grip pull up. I'm going to take a thumbless grip on this. Got the bigger band, the purple band. The reason I'm going heavier when we're pulling down, this is a stronger band pull variation, really incorporating the upper lats and triceps a bit more. Lots of posterior delts and lower trapezius. Since I'm using those big, strong lat muscles, I can go with this thicker, heavier purple band. And since it is a big, strong exercise, I put my thumbs in the mix, went ahead and wrapped my thumbs around so I could keep my wrists a little more neutral. Since it is a big, strong exercise, I'm gonna do fewer reps and heavier resistance. I'd recommend 8 to 10 reps on that. So a little heavier with lower volume. It's always that inverse relationship. Less volume, higher intensity, or more volume, lower intensity. I'm gonna rest for what I think would be just about 3 to 5 breaths. My next pushing variation. Oh shoot, let's stick with the heavy band and we'll do a band push-up. This is a heavy resistance for me to do push-ups with. So I'm gonna try to stick to 8 to 10 reps. I'm trying to hit 8 to 10 reps again. What I really like about band push-ups is they hammer your triceps. Because as you lock the push-up out, more and more triceps emphasis. Thinking about holding a solid plank, squeezing my butt, tucking my belly button in, incorporating a posterior pelvic tilt. Make sure you squeeze your scapulas on the descent. Row yourself down, so to speak. Ah. Ooh, whew, whew. I think that was 9 or 10. I'm gonna need my breaths now. Expand the ribs, inflate the belly. Let your body do the exhaling for you. Now those heavy banded push-ups do a number to your front delts, your anterior delts, which is a good thing. It's a strength exercise. But I'm going to complement that with some side bend dislocates. Because when I bend to the side, I place an even greater emphasis on one side or the other. So remember, when you're doing these side bend dislocates, you're pulling down with the bottom arm and allowing the top arm to pull upright, nice and vertical. So by emphasizing on right or left side, I'm getting a greater lengthening effect in the lats and a greater lengthening effect in the anterior delts and pecs. I count back and forth as 1 rep. I'm going to switch directions. Get 4 to 5 reps this way. Very important to keep the top arm passive. Let the bottom arm do the work. Pull down with the bottom arm, let the top arm pull upright. Really helps open the side trunk. You can also stretch down your obliques, serratus, even into your psoas, hip flexor region. You got 1 more. Now, like I said, those band pulls are kind of an active recovery. So I'm gonna forego the 3 to 5 breaths, go right into my next band pull. I'm gonna take the smaller band, supinated grip, thumbs out, elbows tucked in. Supinated band pulls, focusing solely on the external rotators, or very specifically on the external shoulder rotation aspect of your scap. Once you peep that red, white, and blue, while you see what my scaps are doing protracting and retracting. Thumbs point out, then thumbs point back. This is a smaller, more delicate band pull variation, so we go lighter with the resistance and likely higher in volume. You gotta kind of burn it out by volume rather than resistance. So I would recommend 15 to 20 reps here. Try to keep your elbows tucked in, point the thumbs out, thumbs back. Crank out 5 more. Whew. Sometimes I like to top it off with some quicker pulsing reps, as long as you're keeping the control. Couple long deep breaths now. Next pressing variation, I'm gonna do a half kneeling front rack press. Pretty strong exercise. I'll try it with this purple. So I've got my front knee, the band is under the front foot. Front rack position right here. I like to go fingers open, wrist nice and straight, hand on my hip, push down into the ground with my knee, hips active, squeezing my butt. Ooh, it's tough. Whew, it's hard to lock out. Oh, since I chose to go heavy on this, 6 to 8 reps is perfectly fine. it is a big, strong compound movement. So it's not out of the equation to do medium volume like that, 6 to 8 reps on something like an overhead press, just like you would with a dumbbell or a kettlebell. Show you a side view here. One more. Couldn't lock that out. It's going for 8 reps. Now what makes this challenging and effective is that the band is anchored under my front foot, but my shoulder is stacked all the way back here over my hip. So the band is pulling me forward. As I press up, the band is trying to pull my arm forward, so I'm having to pull the shoulder blade back while I extend up. As you extend further and further, the band's trying to pull you over forward more and more. So your spinal erectors, traps, rhomboids, multifidus, deeper spinal erectors, and your posterior delts and front delts from being pulled forward, you have to resist that. So again, with multiple resistances coming from multiple directions, I'm pressing up against the resistance, but I'm also resisting being pulled forward. So when you're simultaneously working something like an isotonic contraction, but also an isometric resisting movement, then your muscles are being asked to do 2 different things at the same time, which in my opinion is very beneficial and a fun and engaging challenge mentally as well. So going back to dislocates now, I'm gonna use the black band here. What I'm gonna do here is a around the world dislocate. It's kind of a progression of the side bend dislocates in a sense. I'm gonna alternate directions here. Inhale on the way up, exhale on the way around. All right, moving right along. Next band pull variation. Use this medium band. I'm gonna do some X pulls. I like X pulls because your scapulas and shoulders are opposing each other, kind of reciprocating in movement and performing the opposite task, so to speak. Got a double overhand grip. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go with the red band, double it up, take it a little higher volume. X pulls are something you could do for medium to medium high volume. 10 to 20 reps. Doubling up the red band, I'm gonna go for 20. So you notice I'm making that X across my chest. One shoulder blade elevates, the other depresses. Both retract and pull back. You initiate with the posterior delts, and you finish with the scapular portion where you retract and add and elevate, or retract and depress. I'm gonna get 10 more. Remember to pull into your chest for added resistance. Good. Now, although this is a maintenance workout and it's meant to help maintain sustainable performance, healthy movement patterns, healthy joints, and to not set you back, doesn't mean you don't go decently hard on it. Some good hard work still, and heavy enough and hard enough in intensity to where you have to focus, commit, focus on your breath, pay attention to the movement, and make sure that you're not allowing technical breakdown. Even though these exercises are pretty simple, you still want to challenge yourself to a good degree. Next pressing exercise. Sit down, straight legs. Another heavier, stronger exercise, compound movement with a seated chest press. Sit nice and tall, legs are straight, toes up, flex your quadriceps, stretch your hamstrings, shoulder blades tight. You're gonna shove, like you're pressing someone away from you. Aggressive shove, explosive, fast twitch type of contraction. Focus on your pecs initiating and your triceps finishing. Pecs, triceps. Retract and squeeze the scapulas. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add a band in because I want to have some fun and be as explosive as possible. Now you could very well go high reps on this, 20 reps or whatever, but it isn't a heavy, strong compound movement to where you could add more resistance, and as long as you've got the control, you might do lower volume for a compound exercise like 6, 8, 10 reps. And that's what I'm gonna do right now, is see how many good, strong, explosive reps I've got with 2 bands. Oh yeah. I'm gonna stop there. I think that was 9 reps. And on something where the objective or the intention is explosivity, you wanna learn to have the discipline to cut the exercise when you're losing steam. And my 9th rep was good and strong still, but I could tell that my next rep, my 10th rep, I would have lost that spark just a little bit, just enough to where I'm regressing and not getting what I'm intending to get out of that exercise, just in that circumstance. If you're doing something in a plyometric, fast, aggressive, explosive, fast twitch manner, always performance-based. I'll stay in this seated position. I like to do seated exercises, not just to take the lower extremities out of the equation, but forces your core to engage, and it challenges your neutral spine in a different way than when you're on your feet. I'm gonna do a forward fold dislocate. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. Stretch the hamstrings, take a wider stance. Stretch the hammies and groin, bring it over and back up. Big breath as you reach up, exhale as you come down. Inhale, elevate, exhale, descend. Stand back up or sit up, reset. Fold forward from the belly button. Come back up to neutral, reset. Fold forward from the belly button. You're folding forward until you feel a good amount of tension in the hamstrings and the adductors, the groin area. Get one more. All right, final band pull variation. I'm gonna do some spotlights. Spotlights are fun, kind of a different tempo, pulsing band pull variation. I'm gonna take a thumbless grip. I'm gonna pull and spread the band halfway. I'm gonna start with external circles. See how I'm grazing my chest just a little bit with each band pull. Trying to make nice even circles externally with both arms. About 15 each direction here. Ooh, it's burning. I think I'm wearing my glasses, just flipped my fish hook up into my eye. All right, last pressing variation. I'm gonna go ahead and stand up and go with a explosive single arm overhead press, strapping the band behind me. This is another one performance. I'm gonna press hard and aggressive for speed and explosivity. And when I can tell I lose steam just a little bit, I cut it there. Very important on not only workouts where you're trying to develop power, but on a workout like this maintenance routine where you're just trying to make your body feel good and operate well. We're not trying to set you back any neurologically or mentally. Should not be very fatiguing in here or in here. I went to 8, probably should have stopped at 7 there. I think my 7th one is where I peaked. You gotta listen to your body. Same thing, I should have stopped at 7, but I'm anal about keeping things even. And I'm gonna finish up with one last shoulder dislocate variation. Gonna do a half kneeling rotation dislocate, twist towards my front knee. I'm just gonna go ahead and stay in this position for 4 reps. We'll make it 3. So there you have it. That's one round through that maintenance circuit, which entails a band pull variation for the rotator cuff muscles, upper back, rear delts, a pushing variation to complement the band pull and to focus on the anterior predominantly, and then a shoulder dislocate variation to help open back up, to recover, and to lengthen. So I like putting 3 things of that nature in a row. That way I feel like I got a well-rounded, kind of feel-good routine for my shoulders, which they were feeling pretty darn tight. I might have looked pretty tight, but I do feel much better now. I wouldn't recommend doing that type of a circuit more than twice. You might do it once to feel it out and gauge what you need to improve on, maybe switching up which band you use, how many reps you do, what order you put things in, and then the second time through, have a go at it a little bit more effectively and efficiently. Or you might stop after 1 round if you took each set to a pretty good intensity and a pretty good threshold to where you feel like that 1 round, that 1 set was enough. Or maybe you're limited by your schedule and how much time you have. Anywho, I believe I got 5 variations of each there with the, let me think, 5, see if I can recap. Again, I did those on the fly based on how I feel and how I was performing. With the band pulls, did pronated overhand grip, supinated external rotation, did the X pulls, these are out of order, did the pull down pulls across the clavicle, and then the spotlights. With my pressing exercises, I did the Y presses, up and over, anchored under my knees. I did the banded push-ups. I did the single arm, half kneeling, front rack presses. Did the seated chest presses, and then standing single arm behind the back presses. And then with my shoulder dislocates, did the standard shoulder dislocates, over and back. Did side bend dislocates, over and back. Did around the worlds, which is orbiting. I call these orbit dislocates also. Did the forward fold dislocates. And then the half kneeling rotation dislocates. So again, that's a feel-good routine. It's for maintenance. It's like tuning up your car so that you can keep using it maybe a little bit harder. Doesn't mean you're avoiding doing some good hard work there. Should feel like you just accomplished something. But get creative with it. You can follow along and do this routine I just did. Always demoing and showing you different types of band dislocates, different band pulls, and different exercises in general that you could incorporate into a routine like this. And you don't have to use bands. You could use some light dumbbells. You could use a cable machine. You could even use your body weight when it comes down to it. So give it a go, make it your own, follow along with the video, try to stick to the rep ranges, and make it your own as well. So remember, it's half art, half science. And don't you worry, Gus is right over here. Peace.